Well, I guess at one point, being a working actor is not always the easiest thing in the world. And at one point, the money ran out, and you actually started to have to panhandle on the street.
Unfortunately, that's the way our business is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ended up standing in front of, I hadn't paid my rent for 2 months. They were going to eject me from my apartment. And I was literally begging for money. And amazing thing happened to me. An older black lady was passing me. I said, "Ma'am, do you have some change?" She looked at me and just passed by. Another person was coming by, and I said, "Do you have some change?" I felt a tap on my back. And I turned around. It was that same older black lady. And she looked me in my face and my eyes, and she said, "Baby, do your mama know you out here doing this?" It was a profound moment because it reminded me of my parents' teachings. And if my mother and father saw me out here doing something like that, it would have brought what they call shame to the family. So I never begged for money after that. What I did do is, with my girlfriend, I had an overcoat, and we sewed big pockets into the overcoats. We used to go to A&P and put food inside and steal food from the A&P to survive.
Yeah. I mean, it's a humbling experience, to go through that. I'm sure you look back on that now when you're living in your high rise and going like, wow, like a lot has happened since then.
Part of the prices that you pay in this business, it's like,
yeah.
I don't think people really understand our business in the sense that they see your success, but they don't see the process you had to go through to get there. That's why in my book, I just wrote my autobiography, Bill Duke, 40 years in front of behind the camera, and I talk about the struggle that most of us have, as you know, only a small percentage of the Screen Actors Guild works annually, like 15 or 20%. And out of that, only 30 or 40% make over $50,000 a year. So you're facing, and what that's called is rejection. I mean, people tell you to get over it, it's no big deal. But if you go up for, say, 4 or 5 auditions a month and everybody says, no, 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 not you. People say don't take it personally, but something happens. And to get rid of that pain, sometimes people take alcohol or drugs or whatever, or indulge in things that aren't good for them. I was fortunate enough to find transcendental meditation, so once I found meditation, it saved my life. It literally did, because I was a drug head.
What drugs were you taking at the time?
Cocaine, marijuana, hashish, and the most significant one was acid.
Okay.
Timothy Leary?
I've taken acid before.
Would you
I thought you were going to say heroin, because I guess during that time, with all the jazz artists and everything else like that.
This guy took the heroin and put it to my nose like this at a party, and my friend pushed his hand away and said, "Don't do that to Bill." It came this close.
Yeah, heroin is one of those that people don't usually recover from. Once you get to, get down that, that particular road, it's a wrap.
It was the grace of God, man. It was.
Yeah.
All I can tell you is, I'm very fortunate.
Mm-hmm. So, your first, I guess, big movie was Car Wash?
The first big movie I acted in was Car Wash, the great Michael Schultz.
Okay. And you played Abdullah Muhammad Akbar.
That's right.
A.K.A. Dwayne.
Dwayne, that's right.
Okay. And Car Wash is one of these all-time classics, at this point. I mean, because, you also had Richard Pryor, George Carlin, Danny DeVito. It was a fairly all-star cast.
It was incredible.
Did you know how big that movie was going to get?
None of us did. I mean, the great Ivan Dixon was in it. It was a collaborative experience. It was great. We all loved working together, but I don't think any of us knew that it was going to blow up like that, and how long it was going to last in people's mind as kind of a pioneering event, because had the Pointer Sisters who did music, Richard Pryor and George, they did comedy, and then there was a serious part of it too. It was layered because I was Abdullah and I was frustrated with the world and the system and how unfair it was, and so it reflected a lot of elements of the period.
Yeah, I remember I was watching that scene where you went to go rob, I guess the manager, with the gun, and he kept saying like, "Man, just put the gun down," and you're watching this going like, "Okay, is he going to shoot him? Is he not?" And at one point, you finally just put the gun down. You kind of cried, and it was a very poignant moment in that movie.
Thank you very
to
much.
actually that scene, and you really pulled off. You could tell like. Seeing you at that point, with tears running down your eyes, it's like, okay, this is a very trained actor right here. This is a guy who's not just winging it. This is a guy that's been working on his craft for a while by this point.
Thank you. Yes, I and I'm so glad you said that, man, because I can appreciate reality shows and stuff, but the craft of acting is a whole different deal, man. That's why I say being on stage. You have to have the craft on stage. And when you bring it to film, it's different in the sense that you don't have this big proscenium because the camera's right here. So you have to learn how to not do too much. But in terms of the acting chops, it gives you a lot of depth and also the courage to surrender, because after you learn all the lines and everything, it's not just about speaking the lines, it's about listening to who you're talking to and responding out of something that it's hard to explain, but responding truthfully to what's been said to you.
Yeah. Any interesting stories working with Richard Pryor during that time?
First of all, Richard was one of the funniest he was funny, gracious, smart, brilliant guy. But he was funny because he told the truth. I don't know if you ever saw on Saturday Night Live the thing with him and Chevy Chase.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that funny as hell or not?
The word association one?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then I saw something else about him that blew my mind. He came out of divorce court after his second divorce, and he was literally bawling and crying. And the reporter said, "Richard, why are you crying?" In a classic line, he said, "Man, she took everything but the blame."
Yeah,
I loved it.
I interview a lot of comedians, on VladTV, and whenever I ask about, the all-time greatest stand-ups, they all say Richard Pryor. Eddie Murphy's usually number 2, but Richard Pryor is pretty much always number 1.
I love George Carlin. George Carlin was a genius,
Oh yeah.
And George Carlin just told the truth. He made you think about things in a totally different way,